Pausa rapidinho agora para falar de dica de ouro para os papais e mamães. Depois de experimentar a nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha, tudo ficou ainda melhor para o meu filho. É a única com canais em X que se adaptam aos movimentos, com 2 vezes proteção noturna e cintura elástica que se adapta ao corpinho do bebê, além de ser super fácil de colocar e tirar. Praticidade pura. Então guarda essa dica. Nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha. Bebê, estamos juntos nessa, mais do que nunca. Agora curta seu podcast.
Interrompemos esse podcast para perguntar: quem você quer ser?
Designer, engenheira,
pedagoga,
administrador.
Quer saber? O Senac EAD é nota máxima no MEC. Tem cursos de diversas áreas, com conteúdo elaborado por especialistas do mercado e professores mestres e doutores. Ainda tem o Senac Carreiras, conectando estudantes a vagas de emprego em todo o país. Saiba mais em ead.senac.br/graduação.
Doctor, look!
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Homebrew. Again, still, always. We're back here in the studio. We're going to talk homebrewed beer with you. And probably a home brewer. I don't know. We'll see.
We're also going to talk about...
What is that?
That's my kid.
Okay, what's he saying?
He made up a word. It's haka-ya-ya-yow.
Oh. Is that his call to action?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
He's taking over the world.
Well, that's good. To be honest with you, the world needs to be taken over.
True that.
I don't know.
By us?
The good people.
By anybody, to be honest. Even me, especially me right now. So anyway, welcome. We have our first ever, I think, Brian, you might correct me on this, our first ever canned homebrew tonight.
I'm trying to recall. Did we ever get a can here before?
Maybe we did, to be honest.
So for the next show that we're going to do after this, we have another can. So this is definitely the first time we've had two different cans.
Yeah, but the next show doesn't matter. Only this show matters.
Only this show matters.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it feels like the first time, the very first time. I should write a song about that. So I'm pretty stoked on that. But before we get to all that nonsense, thank you to 5 Star. Go to 5starchemicals.com. Learn about the best way to clean and sanitize your home brewing equipment, plus anything else that you have in your house that you want cleaned and then sanitized. There is no sanitization without cleaning first.
Did you say insanitized?
Insanitized. I may have. I don't know, man. I'm tired. I just got back late last night from a trip to Disneyland.
Oh, nice.
For 3 days. Yeah, you would think it was nice, but in fact, it was a horror show. Apparently, it was not only Columbus Day, which who the hell?
People still celebrate that?
Yes. Who gets Columbus Day off?
Schools.
Bankers, I think.
Bankers, I think, but I wouldn't.
It's parent-teacher conference week, so everybody gets schools at least half day off.
Yeah,
all week.
And then someone in line for security was saying that it's fall break. And I'm like, when the fuck did fall break become a thing? I thought that was Thanksgiving break. And she was saying, well, a lot of schools do it in halves.
They just barely started school.
Apparently they start school in August now.
Yeah, now it starts super early.
Well, yeah, so it starts in super early, and then you get like half a week off for fall break, and then the other half of your week for Thanksgiving. When did this start? It's confusing to me.
And then the other half of the week for Fall Guy reruns.
I mean, I really agree that Thanksgiving week is a great idea because everyone travels so much, and half the kids end up taking off like a day or two or all week anyway.
Yeah.
If you're going somewhere. That way you don't have the travel like Wednesday night. And it's a good idea. But this fall break thing, I've never heard of such a thing.
It sounds ridiculous, but that park, dude, was the pretty much the busiest I've ever seen it. It was atrocious. We left early on Monday. We're like, we can't do anything. All the fast passes for all the rides were already out. And we have sort of a timeline with the kid anyways. So it's like 7:30. By the way,
earsup.com?
Beers at Disneyland or DCA, $11 now.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Carthay Manhattan at Carthay Lounge, $17.50. We left.
Well, it's probably still a bargain for Disneyland to get a Carthay Manhattan for under $20.
It wasn't even that good. No, it used to be $14.
But still,
they raised the price.
And you're saying it's not that? Have they changed how they make it? They used to be like, I'm not a Manhattan fan.
They used to be amazing, and this one had too much vermouth. I think they just screwed it up. So it was the fact that I was getting a very expensive drink that wasn't made well. Pissed me the hell off, dude. I was mad. It was 2 drinks. Taryn and I we each got 1 drink. So it was 2 drinks and a glass of milk. $44. We left. We're like, fuck this, dude. I'm so pissed.
Oh, man.
I wrote an email to Disney. Not like they're going to ever read it. No one's going to give a shit.
I have a podcast about you guys.
Well, maybe if Terrence becomes a Disney mom,
we're all out. Yeah, but it was more of just like the only reason I go, not the only reason, but I said a third to a half of the reason I go to DCA in the first place is to go get a beer and sit down on the bench and just relax and just catch up and just kind of rest a little bit. But not for $11. No, that's way too much. I go, you've raised the prices on food, but food has gotten better. Food at the park's gotten a lot better.
Really?
Yeah, you raise the price on the ticket, we get new lands like Star Wars land. But you raise the price on beer, we don't get anything out of it.
Still the same beer, yeah.
Still the same beer.
You know what might have made you happier after that Manhattan?
No.
The second Manhattan.
Trust me, I thought about it, and then I was like, I cannot do it.
Or it might have just driven you further down the anger hole, where you might have just gone full-on, falling down on DCA, and then you'd never be able to go back.
Can you imagine $75 for 4 drinks? Or whatever the math is, so that's where I was at in my head. I was like, and then I told him in the email that no one's ever going to read. We usually stay for an hour and get food. But now we didn't because we left because it was too expensive.
Well, I hear you, because if you're going to San Francisco and you're going to Smuggler's Cove or Whitechapel or something, and you're spending $14, $15, but it's
get a pretty nice
it is really cocktail. Super premium, and you're getting what you're paying. And even when you figure in you're going to the lands, and you're paying more than you would pay for anything outside, that's still a lot for something that's not made well.
Yeah.
Did you consider mentioning politely to the bartender, hey, man, this is all jacked up. Could I get a different one?
I thought about it, honestly. Taryn was like, you send it back. I'm like, I'm not going to send it back. I just don't care.
They were just too busy or something?
No,
or I just screw it.
It wasn't worth it at that point.
I was tired. I'd been there for 2 days. I was hot. And I was like, I'm over it. I'm just pissed off enough to not do it. You know when you get so mad that you just don't even want to fix the thing?
You're already invested in being angry, and you want to stay angry. Yeah, I've been there.
You're the 1-year-old, and your 1-year-old is like, Dad, stop melting down.
Basically, yeah. But anyway, you can hear more about it on our show on earsup-podcast.com. Thank you very much. All right, let's get. What do you want to do? We have to take 2 breaks.
What?
Let's get Kenny on the line here now, right? Why not?
Oh my God! They killed Kenny.
Oh no.
Sorry, I'm sure I haven't watched that show in 15 years.
It's still on.
I've heard that.
God bless him.
It's like The Simpsons. It's been around for 30 years.
Yeah. Ken, are you there? Ken.
Oh.
Ken, hello. What's up, dude?
There he is.
Can you hear me? Oh, wait.
Going in and out.
Am I muted? No, I'm not muted.
I heard him for a second.
No device found.
Hello.
Oh. Hello.
What the frig, dude?
Are we muted?
I got you now. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I was about to start panicking, man. You got us? You good?
I'm good. I got you.
Hello.
I had to hit the wrong button.
Well, it is late at night there.
Yeah, so don't do that, man. How you doing, Ken? You all right? You good? You squared?
I'm good.
All right.
I am. Thanks, guys.
All right. Hey, man, I don't really care about how long you've been brewing. Tell me about these cans. What are you doing canning your own homebrew, dude? What kind of bougie planet do you live on? No, I'm kidding.
When I went to Homebrew Con this year, that was one of my main goals, was to buy a canner. So
really?
Day one, I walked over to October Design and bought one of the floor models and paid for it and picked it up on the last day.
Wow.
Cool.
Is it easier than bottling, or what's the draw from canning?
Oh, my God, it's so much easier. I can do a 6-pack in 1 minute versus it seems to take me 10 minutes to do 2 bottles on a counter pressure bottle filler.
Why is that?
I don't know if it's I got a cheap one from China off eBay, and I don't know if it's if it's just a piece of garbage or what, but I lose a lot of beer when I bottle, and I don't lose near as much canning.
Is it I imagine, like, whenever I would bottle, I would have a foaming issue. Do you have that?
I did too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have that with the cans also, or
is your canning
not so much with the cans? Okay. I just made a couple adjustments on my kegging system and went from 5-foot lines to 7-foot lines, and that seems to help too.
Mm-hmm. So do you lid on foam? When you put the lid on, like people, when you bottle, you cap on foam is kind of the accepted wisdom because it pushes the oxygen out. So when you're putting the lids on, do you have like foam that comes up at the top of the can? You put the lid on that and cap it?
Yeah, typically what I do is I have an extra hose running off of my CO2 tank, and I purge the can, and then I'll fill it all the way up. And I talked to some brewers around my area how they do their crawlers and stuff, and they said that they just take it all the way up to the top and then kind of push the lid down and let it kind of overflow a little bit, wipe it off a bit, and take it over to the canner.
That does sound easy.
Sounds good to me, man. Sign me up.
Oh, it's so much easier, and it really wasn't that expensive for the canner for that October design one.
Right on. Yeah, I saw those guys there. I remember bumping into them.
Yeah, I chatted with those folks for a little while. Nice guys.
Yeah, it was. I was either going to do that one or the cannular from More Beer, but I actually brew with the Robo Brew, and I had issues with that before. And the cannular was made by Keg Connection also, so I didn't want to. I just wanted to spend the money and get something that worked without problems.
I feel you on that one, dude.
Okay, we're going to crack another one of the cans here just for fun.
It's a good idea.
There we go.
That's kind of cool, dude. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of cool.
I just wish the competitions I wish they accepted cans.
Oh, they don't? Oh, well, I guess not, huh? Because that's...
No, I imagine it's going to happen sooner or later, though, because now they're starting to push those can systems.
Yeah, but so Brian, how could it? How could it happen? Because you're supposed to have bottles that don't even have like colored caps or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
well, if it's a nondescript can, I mean, you can't assume you're going to be the only can in the competition if they allow cans.
Well, you can.
Yeah, I think it has to be something you address in the when you're setting up your competition, when you're in your rules for what you're going to accept. Because like Brian was alluding to, you don't want to have a package that makes it clear that it's your beer.
Right.
But if it's just a blank can, it's like a blank bottle. I mean, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
Comps get entries from anyone, and you don't know. Oh, some guy in the club cans, but maybe 20 other guys nearby can too. You don't know.
Well, that's true.
Right, I was thinking if I was sending it out to a major competition like at NHC or something, the cans are blank. I mean, I put labels on the ones you guys got, but I mean, I could send a blank can. It's just a silver plain can.
Having said that, I've judged God knows how many comps, and I've seen all manner of non-standard bottles and weird caps and stuff come through, and I've made a note of it, like in bottle inspection, but I've never DQ'd an entrant for having non-standard packaging, and I've never seen anyone do that.
Yeah, sometimes you see like the New Belgium. What's the difference between getting something in a can and something in like with a New Belgium logo around?
Yeah, the fat tire bottles.
Communicate with the judge. Tell them I'm in the New Belgium bottles. Give me the. But it's still just one judge that and they, if the beer is crap, how they're going to twist the other judge's arm so hard that it wins a medal or a ribbon. I don't know. I mean, I think most entrants are pretty honorable, and most judges are not going to allow themselves to be swayed by an entrant, even one that they're best friends with, to do something like that. I mean, the judges I know anyway.
Yeah.
So I would just give people the benefit of the doubt and say it's a friendly competition. It's not like you're winning bajillions of dollars. You're getting a freaking ribbon.
Well, that's true.
Right, exactly.
I was thinking about emailing the AHA and asking them next year, before next year, if they'll accept them in the competition.
Yeah, do it. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I would email the BJCP also, maybe Gordon Strong or somebody, because when you're looking at sanctioning a comp, a lot of those rules come from the BJCP. And it's probably time, given the popularity of canning, to go back and update those.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, well, hey, let's get to Ken's beer, huh?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
The whole canning show. Cooper, why don't you start us off?
Okay, Kenny's Kolsch. We've got a 5B. So in the aroma, the can had a little hiss when we opened it. Malt-wise, I'm getting kind of a low, kind of a plain Pils, basic bready malt aroma. But also in the nose, I'm getting a kind of a medium-low medicinal phenolic going on here. There's some faint fruitiness, but it's a bit berried, and I'd say kind of a low, spicy herbal hop. I'm not getting any DMS or buttery diacetyl in here. And then I felt like I got medium pumpkin skin-like acetaldehyde in here as well. Just kind of that pumpkin skin aroma going on. But I was kind of debating whether it was just more of the phenolic or a little twist on the phenolic doing that. So anyway, appearance-wise, it's medium light gold with a bit of haze and a low white head that fades pretty soon after pouring it. The Kolsch should have a nice fluffy head that sticks around. Well, it doesn't stick around, but it should push up a good fluffy head, and it doesn't have to linger forever, so that's fine. I don't think I knocked it down for the head, but a little bit for the haze. It should be fairly clear. And then it's mostly finer bubbles, kind of ringing the glass after that, and it's kind of usually a Kolsch has a delicate white head, so it doesn't stick around too much anyway. So, but it will be filtered to mostly the commercial versions are filtered, and they'll be brilliant. So, homebrew give it a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. It's not super hazy at all. Flavor-wise, I'm getting a low bready Pils malt in there. And again, I felt like I got some medium acetaldehyde, kind of pumpkin skin, a little green apple-ish, but I get it more as pumpkin skin. And then a pretty distracting and slightly biting medicinal chlorophenolic flavor, consistent with the aroma. Bitterness is low, and it's balanced to the malts. There's a very low spicy herbal hop in there. It finishes dry, and the phenolic lingers around in the aftertaste there, suggesting kind of a flawed fermentation, something like a wild yeast that got away in the fermentation, perhaps. It's just not okay to style because of that, sadly. But otherwise, it seems like recipe-wise and ingredients, it looks good. It's fairly good, but in the mouthfeel, it's light-bodied. That seems, kind of where it should be a pretty light, medium light to medium-bodied beer. And it's got a bit of a biting sensation from the phenolic with a medium astringency. I'm almost getting a little heat now, too, in the back of my throat. It's not as, I want a crisp, quenching beer. So, I hoped that just be a nice, crisp, quenching Kolsch, and it's just not there. There's no alcohol, not really too much alcohol warmth. At first I thought there's none, but maybe it's just the bitingness from the phenolic that's giving me the impression of some warmth here. The carbonation was kind of medium low. So overall, it's just there's something going on with the fermentation here, I would say. Otherwise, it's somewhat to style as far as the malt to hop balance. But these issues are kind of covering up a lot of the other flavors that would otherwise make this beer a lot more pleasant and enjoyable. There's some flavors in there that are nice. But I would watch for wild yeast contamination. Just pitch an extra amount of healthy, vigorous yeast in there, and with acetaldehyde, you want to leave it on the yeast long enough to reabsorb any of that that's generated early in fermentation. And especially with a Kolsch, you'll want to probably lager it for a few weeks too after the ale, low ale temp fermentation is going. But yeah, you don't want to also leave it on the yeast too long, where the yeast will start kicking stuff back out. And I've had that actually happen to a beer of mine recently.
Oh man,
I did a lager and it tasted great, and then I let it sit too long, and I was like, just trying to cool it down, lagered it, and left it on the yeast. I should have transferred it off, but I was lazy. And then I was really slow in dropping the temperatures. Whenever I thought of it, I'd drop it down a few degrees. And it turned from a really nice lager with a little dry hop into just acetaldehyde pumpkin skin flavor.
Gross, dude.
But I actually kind of rescued it, and I brought it back to life by krausening the beer.
Okay.
And it reabsorbed the krausening. I just put made a nice good sized starter and pitched some fresh yeast into there and got it going to just the point of high ferment. Dumped it in there while it was going and let it, put an airlock back on it, let it bubble out for a while. Yeah. And it kind of came back to life, and it was drinkable. I wasn't embarrassed to pour it for people.
Okay. You sort of, I wouldn't say rescued it, but you definitely prolonged its drift downwards.
I just called it lager. It was okay. It wasn't any kind of style anymore. It was just like rescued lager.
All right, very good. Shar, you're up.
Yeah, I largely echo what Cooper said. But first, Kenny, are you in a homebrew club?
I am not.
You are a lone wolf. Okay, that's...
I am.
Nothing wrong with
Pack
that.
of one.
So, I won't belabor Brian's points in general. I mean,
because I already belabored them.
Yeah, well, no, you labored. I won't belabor them. Aroma, I think, was largely Band-Aid kind of phenolic, which overwhelmed everything else. And it was a very specific Band-Aid rather than like a smoky or a plastic. There was
a certain brand of Band-Aid?
It's the one that has Dora on them, the Dora the Explorer ones for little kids. No, that was always my daughter's favorite when she was like 3. She had to have the Dora Band-Aids, damn it. Not the other plain ones, the Dora ones.
That won't do.
No, of course not. As it warms up, definitely got a little low malt, which is really pleasant. Got some apple acetaldehyde aroma as well. To me, it came across a little more apple than pumpkin, but I definitely got a little pumpkin. But even that was kind of overwhelmed by the Band-Aid. And I didn't get any of the esters I would expect from the warmer temperature Kolsch yeast fermentation, right? Because Kolsch is kind of in that weird gray area between lager and ale. And the point is that higher than normal German temp is supposed to give you a little bit of fruity ester. So give it 4 for aroma. Appearance, 3 out of 3. The head was large and persistent, which was really great. It was clear. But not. It was a little bit of haze, and when you get to the recipe later, I'm just guessing right now there's some wheat because they had kind of a wheat type low haze, which is okay for style.
Yeah, it did have some kind of wheatiness to it.
But it certainly wasn't a hazy IPA, and it certainly wasn't chunkies or anything. It was, to me, within the range of acceptability for a Kolsch, because Kolsch can have up to like 20% wheat, and that's going to give you a little bit of a haze. Very pale gold, definitely on the pale end of the style, but that's a good achievement. Flavor. Again, like with the aroma, the Band-Aid kind of overwhelmed pretty much everything. Low malt did come up in mid-palate. Didn't get any hop flavor, which is okay for style. Sort of medium-low hop bitterness in the finish, which did balance. It was very well attenuated, so that was good. 5 out of 20 for flavor. Mouthfeel, gave it 4 out of 5. Body was medium-low. Medium carbonation, no warming, no astringency. I wanted maybe a little more carbonation. This Kolsch is a style that typically is kind of lively and higher carb.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah.
So overall impression, the recipe seems spot on. I agree with Brian's perception, but maybe not quite his diagnosis, because I as a clinician of homebrew, we can have different. My second opinion here from Brian's is that the ferment. I'm not seeing that this is a wild yeast problem, because typically when you got a wild yeast problem, the beer ends up being super carbonated and almost gushing. Mm-hmm. And to me, I've struggled with phenol over the years. It sounds like I've like a commercial for some kind of drug. I've struggled with phenol for years. And to me, it typically comes down to like 2 things, for my process at least. Yeah. Either it was the dumb thing, like I used to brew with garden hose water. Don't ever do that. If you do that, stop doing it. Get the white potable water RV hose. Because dumb me for like 2 years, like, why are all my beers slightly phenolic? And this guy used a damn garden hose to put water in my kettle. The other thing is, I don't know, and you can. I want to hear about this when you talk about your process. Yeah, if your water is highly chlorinated or chloraminated, you definitely are going to need to either charcoal filter at a very low flow rate, or use part of a Camden tablet to take that chlorine or chloramine out of your water, or just do the approach where you go buy RO water and then or spring water or something and build it back up. And the fact that the fact that it's not super carbonated tells me it's more of a water issue than a wild yeast issue. What do you think about that, Brian?
That could very well be, unless you're one of the old school brewers that uses chlorine bleach to sanitize your bottles.
I did that in 1993.
I didn't think that was the case. So yeah,
let's talk to Ken about it. Ken, what do you think?
So it's really going to kind of blow your mind, because I actually had a 10-gallon RO system installed in my house last July.
Wow.
I do a lot with the water profile as far as adding some different salts and stuff. So
pretty clean.
So I'm totally wrong. That's good to know.
So what I did, I can tell you that on this one, like my sulfate to chloride ratio is about 2 to 1. 93.5 ppm on the sulfate to 41 on the chloride.
Yeah. Well, and chloride shouldn't hurt you. Just the chloramines or chlorine would hurt you. But
it's different molecules, different
chloride ion is a part of a lot of brewing salts. So yeah, that's not a problem unless it's really, really high.
So
now
Brian's
I do
use
I use lactic acid to lower the pH level. I put about 4 milliliters in on that, and this particular pH came in at, after mash, I was at 5. Looks like about 5.3.
That's perfectly fine. That's right where you ought to be.
So I will tell you the biggest problem that happened with this was the yeast.
Okay.
I actually, so this was the first time I've ever used Imperial Dieter yeast. And so I pitched, and I had absolutely zero activity for 4 days.
Ooh.
So the yeast I bought came from Texas, and it was like probably 100 degrees in Texas when they shipped it out, and it came to my house, and it just so happened to be a hot day that day that I received it. So it sat on my porch for until I got home from work. So I threw it in the fridge, got no activity for 4 days, and then I called. I actually contacted Imperial about it.
Yeah.
They overnighted me a package of yeast from Oregon all the way to Ohio.
Well, that's nice of them.
Yeah, it was really cool. And the funny thing is, the day it was supposed to arrive, I started to get activity.
Yeah, so Brian's totally right on that one, then. I suspect everything in that can was dead that you initially got, because it was just so high temperature. And then whatever little bit of residual wild yeast were in your fermenter were taking off at 4 days, and then the introduction of the fresh yeast probably didn't help. I mean, Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeast that's unhappy can kick off a lot of different flavors.
Well, when I got the second pouch, I pitched it later that afternoon when I got home from work. And within about 12 hours, the thing was really ripping. And then, the starting gravity was about 1046, and it finished at 1004.
Yeah, it's pretty dry. Yeah.
So, I think that I definitely had a yeast issue. I think if it would have been a cleaner fermentation, that's the one thing that I was definitely concerned about.
Yeah, and that's one point to Brian's point about sometimes having phenolic beers also be overcarbonated. That's when the ferment is not allowed to finish out, or when the issue is in the bottles and it's taking off in there with some wild yeast and getting phenolic, then it will overcarbonate in the bottle. But if it's finished out to 1004, there's not much left there for it to do.
No, that's exactly right.
The other thing that happened, I have spike conical fermenters that have temperature control in them.
Some fun stuff over there.
Yeah, I got a lot of money wrapped up in that in a couple of years.
Good.
You drive a 1974 Pinto because of this. Yeah.
No, I just bought a brand new car, too.
Okay.
Life is good in Ohio right now, man.
Yeah, it is, I guess.
You know, those California housing prices.
So what happened, though, is so my temperature control, I'm waiting for a glycol chiller to arrive in November. I ordered one at HomebrewCon from Craft Brew.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah. That thing looks cool, man.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And it was a good price, and they're supposed to ship it out in November. But in the meantime, I have an igloo cooler that I just fill with bottles of ice, and then I run, cold water through the coils. Well, this one, for some reason, was running a lot, and I misjudged it at one point and didn't change the bottles out fast enough, and it spiked up to about 72, 73 degrees, and I was concerned that got a little too hot for the fermentation.
Shouldn't hurt it too badly, but
no, I think
that's not your primary issue.
Yeah, I think your primary issue was what you already talked about, and because you're swirling this beer and smelling it, it sort of smells like sourdough-like. Mm-hmm. So to me, you got a funky thing that took off and replicated a little faster than your other yeast. It also, there's a spicy phenol, but it also tastes like sanitizer.
Yeah,
it tastes like iodophor or something like that. So I don't know if that's a potential issue, or maybe you didn't rinse I don't know how you sanitize the cans or whatever.
Yeah,
but
chloroseptic.
With the cans, I have a bucket of Star San usually, and I'll dip the cans and dump and let it sit for a minute and then dump them.
Okay.
I think we're kind of reaching too far at that point, because it's pretty clear. Yeah. that first yeast, anything that was still alive in there, was probably is resulting in the acetaldehyde.
Yeah, but would that kick off like a sanitize, like a chlorine sanitizer sort of thing? Like that's what I get over any other issue that could be fermentation related, right?
Well, that's wild yeast is one of the sources of the chlorophenol flavors. And that's right. Even if you're sanitizing, you're not sterilizing, right? You're sanitizing,
right?
And the point is, you're getting everything else down low enough that when you pitch that big slug of yeast, it takes off and produces the flavors you want before the other stuff can get a foothold,
right?
Yeah. So if 4 days later, that gives the wild yeast that you didn't kill, right? That the few yeast that are left, the stuff in the air, that can get a foothold and start taking off.
And it replicates faster, I think, than cultured brewer's yeast.
It is
bacteria and stuff. I think
anything else, right? So maybe the first day or 4 you're not getting a lot, but by day 4, it's taken off, man.
Yeah.
Right, and it's not just the chlorophenolic medicinal thing. It's like the plastic adhesive strip that Brian too was talking about. So thank you for sharing this with us, Kenny. I hope you were looking for the kind of feedback that we've been giving you too.
Yeah, for sure.
I was.
I scored it. I meant to tell you as an 18. It wasn't a 13-point beer. It's just you can tell that it's a decently brewed beer. Otherwise, in the process and the ingredients were fine before it got into the ferment, but you just had a ferment problem. Something got away in there.
Yeah, and I gave it I realized I didn't give you my score. I gave it a 19, and I appreciate and respect the fact that you will send this beer in and take this feedback, which is not probably real pleasant to hear. But I think you you knew what was going on with this. I think you had a pretty good handle on the cause, and probably were not surprised by these numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the ferment or with the yeast, I think I was already behind the 8 ball anyways. But I also wanted to lager that beer longer, and I only had it in it was like maybe a week. Mm-hmm. And this was the first beer that I ever did a closed pressure transfer, and it was the first beer that I've ever once it was done fermenting, I put CO2 into it, and I actually was carbing while it was in the fermenter.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the questions I had was
there was no oxidation problem.
What's that?
There was no oxidation problem.
Not at all.
No. I harvest my yeast, and I actually harvested out of this one, but you would probably suggest to dump that, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the next time, I liked the Dieter yeast. I liked some of the fruit. I got a little bit of fruit esters out of it.
A little bit.
And I thought about using it again because I'd like to try to perfect this beer and get it better and enter it in NHC next year.
Don't do it.
That's right.
Don't do it.
I'd say do
Not
it,
worth it.
Do it, but don't have it shipped in the middle of the summer in Ohio where it's 100 degrees and it'll be out on your porch. Do it in the wintertime, or make sure you have plenty of ice packs, or buy it at your local homebrew store or something, so you don't get it to be anything that wasn't dead in there. Probably wasn't real good for your beer.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay.
All right, Ken.
Excellent.
Well, hey, man, we're going to let you go. That's all right with you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, dude. Take it easy.
Thank you much.
All right, take care.
Bye. I wanted to ask him about more stuff, but we're just kind of running out of time.
Well,
only got an hour for the show, boys, and
we'll have them rebrew it, and we'll get it again. That's
right.
It's a podcast. We can go as long as we want, right?
No, we got an hour. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with some more beers and some more talking back after this.
Pausa rapidinho agora para falar de dica de ouro para os papais e mamães. Depois de experimentar a nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha, tudo ficou ainda melhor para o meu filho. É a única com canais em X que se adaptam aos movimentos, com 2 vezes proteção noturna e cintura elástica que se adapta ao corpinho do bebê, além de ser super fácil de colocar e tirar. Praticidade pura. Então guarda essa dica. Nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha. Bebê, estamos juntos nessa, mais do que nunca. Agora curta seu podcast.
Now, back to the examination.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for sticking with us here. We're going to be we're opening this beer bottle right now. As a matter of fact, we're going to be talking to Kevin with a Catharina Sour. Now, we've had one of these before, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Sorry. Let me turn your microphone on.
Sure.
There you go, yeah.
It was pretty new to me at the time, and it's still, I have to say, it's not a style that I'm super experienced with, but I enjoy learning about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's same. I was trying to work off what you said. Don't know much about it. Still don't remember much about it, even though we had somebody on the show to talk to us about it at least twice. It's very interesting. It's very, I don't know. It seems like the new hotness too, to be honest with you.
Did Brian shake up the first bottle that we poured for ourselves, or
he may have?
Well, that's called for by the style guidelines, right? The X4 is like judges must shake the bottle vigorously before opening.
Brian's not very good at pouring beers. Kevin, are you there?
I am here.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Oh, not much. How you guys tonight?
Not too shabby.
Pretty good.
Catharina
Sour.
Yeah.
Is this something you've done before?
I've done this one a few times, yeah.
Okay, all right. And you like the style?
I do like the style. I like fruit in my beer.
Nice. How long have you been making home brews over there? We've talked to you before, so this is all probably just old news.
Review.
But just refresh my aging memory, please.
Oh, about 15 years.
All right, there you go.
There we go.
Nice. 15 years. And then Catharina Sour 3 or 4 times. All right, are you getting closer to perfecting that style, or do you just like it and you drink it and it doesn't really, you're not trying to perfect the recipe?
Right. I mean, I like it. I drink it, and it's fun at festivals, and I'll mix up the fruits here and there. And
so it's just like a platform just to monkey around with. It's not like I need to make the perfect thing, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
You did mix it up here. We're talking mango, pineapple, strawberry, and Hawaiian punch. Is that right?
That's right. That's a fun one.
I was curious if Hawaiian punch was an ingredient, or if that was your descriptor of the combination of mango, pineapple, and strawberry.
It is both. So that's the combination of fruit in Hawaiian punch, and then I added Hawaiian punch to that beer.
Because why not?
It is a tinge pinkish here in this, especially in this second pour we got. That's much clearer. that I didn't allow Brian 2 to shake up.
Damn it,
Number 2, don't shake the bottles.
Yeah. All right, Brian 2, why don't you start us off, man?
All right, so I really liked this beer. Aroma, 9 out of 12. I think the mango and especially the strawberry stand out. And when we get to the recipe, I'm going to be curious. Don't tell me now, but I'll be curious about how you added the Hawaiian punch and specifically what flavor it was. Because strawberry tends to be a flavor that when you add the raw fruit to beer, it's really tricky. The strawberry flavor typically doesn't come out a lot. And like Nicole Ernie was, I learned this from Nicole a while back, it's the little seeds in the pineapples tend to give it like a little bit of an off flavor, unless you're going to be really careful to strain those seeds out. I mean, strawberry is just a very problematic ingredient. Having said that, this comes out with a really nice strawberry aroma. It's difficult to judge not knowing, going in blind, what the flavor of Hawaiian punch was. So it was a little bit difficult to tell quite what was contributing what to the flavor or the aroma. I had a low lactic / citrus sour. No hop aroma, no malt aroma. That's okay for this style. Although I did have a note, got sort of a low malt aroma as it warms. No off aromas. Appearance, 3 out of 3. Had a slight haze in the first pour, which is okay for the style. Second pour was a lot clearer because, I didn't, shake it up a lot out in the other room before I poured it. No, I actually didn't shake either one. It's weird. That's how bottle handling can be. Sometimes something happens to one and it's hazy, and the next one is clear. Medium head with good retention. Color was a very light straw. Flavor, 13 out of 20. There was a lactic sourness at kind of a medium level, along with strawberry and mango at the beginning. Mid-palate, there's a very low hop bitterness. I may have been talking myself into that, but I guess the primary balance in this beer is not between malt and hop. It's between kind of fruit and sour. And maybe that's the point of the Catharina Sour. It kind of seems like that's maybe the goal here, is to balance on those two dimensions.
The goal is definitely not any hop.
Yeah. And the guidelines are very clear about that.
Yeah.
This is like, no, hops have to be in there, something in there.
But sub-detectable.
Yeah, exactly. It's very well attenuated. Again, it's per style. There's no Brett funk. It's supposed to be lactic. Maybe I always get the impression this is maybe more of a riff on a Berliner Weiss than a riff on more of a Belgian type sour. It didn't really taste the pineapple. It's like I didn't really get much pineapple in the aroma. But overall, it was really good. 13. Mouthfeel, 5 out of 5. Body was low. Carbonation was low. A little bit lower than expected, but still, I think, within the guidelines. And it's difficult to tell in a style that I don't have a lot of familiarity with, and there really aren't any commercial examples. You just kind of have to go by what the BJCP guidelines say. More lactic than creamy, not warming, more astringent. Again, 5 out of 5. Overall impression, 7 out of 10. Really, really like this. I mean, I would drink several pints of this thing, given the opportunity. Hits the major marks on style. I feel like when you're adding Hawaiian punch, because one of the things the guidelines say is this should be natural fruit and not artificial flavoring. And I don't know if Hawaiian punch is artificial or if it counts as artificial or if it's made with all natural ingredients. But it's difficult to judge. Like I mentioned this in the aroma. It's difficult to kind of judge this beer when you have fruits and then Hawaiian punch when you don't declare like what flavor the Hawaiian punch is. Because there are different flavors of Hawaiian punch, right?
I just assumed standard Hawaiian punch myself.
True, but I mean, I'm old enough to remember you would just get like the powder, like Kool-Aid or something, and your mom would pour it in the pitcher and add like a shit ton of sugar.
Well, I feel like Hawaiian punch is red, is punch.
Right, the red.
But then they have flavors of the punch.
Yeah, now if you declared an ingredient as Kool-Aid, then you could say, well, what flavor of Kool-Aid? Because there's a bajillion of them, right?
There's 17 flavors of all these things these days, man.
Okay.
And leave it to the lawyer in the room to start picking nits about details.
There was no of course. That's what I'm here for, man. That's my job. That's my on the show here. My function is to focus on minutia that no one cares about. Aside from the final score, which is 37 out of 50, I really like this beer, despite my focus on the minutia.
Awesome. All right, Brian Cooper.
All right. I've got two different samples in front of me here. One is completely hazy and one is completely clear. And you can see some little pinkish tinges in both of them, actually. That's kind of the hazy one's kind of a weird salmon-y, color because of that. And the clear one is just a nice, well, it doesn't have much of a head, but it's, it's nice and clear, and it's got that pinkish tinge with a little gold and some yellowy highlights in there. It's a little appearance goes a long way, but what's in that, what's causing that haze seems to also be affecting the flavor and the aroma, because I'm getting different impressions from each. So I'll just go through quickly each one of them. The aroma, so I judged the hazy one first. Just what we poured. Brian shook them up, like I said, probably. Lightly lactic sour with aroma of strawberry. Kind of a seedy, pulpy strawberry smell, not like the fresh, clean strawberry skin or, whatever, juice aroma. But strawberry is tough to get out of a beer. There's a light mango, a pretty faint pineapple. I'm not sure... in either of these versions, I would really even declare much pineapple because I'm not getting much at all. But it's not hurting the beer at all. No obvious Hawaiian punch in the nose. Lightly malty, no hops, no obvious yeast-derived esters. Seems clean, low, and balanced. Appearance-wise, it was kind of a pale yellow straw color with a pink tinge and a moderate haze. Very low head that faded almost immediately after pouring. Pale white, kind of tiny bubbles on the edges of the glass, and only a few bubbles rising up through the beer. I would say both samples are similarly low in carbonation, which is hurting the beer a little bit. So I gave it a 2 on appearance for the hazy one, but actually, I guess I kind of I would forgive it a little bit and bring it up to a 3 for the one that's nice and clear, because I just like the way it looks a little better, and I like the way that pinkness comes through better. So in the flavor, it's nicely tangy and smooth, actually, and now that's where I'm starting to get the Hawaiian punch flavor. Mm-hmm. The impression that comes through a lot better in the flavor.
Yeah, for sure. Excuse me.
I think that maybe because the sourness is kind of aiding that. I was like, okay, you kind of expect that nice, tangy, bright, tropical punch flavor, just kind of playing that way. So all the fruits that are here with the Hawaiian punch are making it come through nicely that way. And I think the clearer one tastes just a little bit more better. In that regard, it's even a little more Hawaiian punch or something in the way, and the other one a little bit. So yes, definitely balance to that sourness in the hazed example, but I think that the fruit and the sourness is, the fruit's almost even in the hazed example, but it's pretty even, if not winning out slightly in the clearer versions. There's something, maybe there's some of the bugs or something that are still in that glass that are giving it kind of a little funkiness, or it's not super funky actually, but it's more just the lactic sourness is a little stronger and wins out over the fruit in the hazy version to me. And it's the opposite in the other one. So I would give it another point or so in the flavor that way. I think I went 14 to 15 on flavor from the hazy to the clear. Mouthfeel wise, it's very similar, just medium light bodied, low carbonation. Needs more, no alcohol warmth or astringency. It's smooth, not very biting at all, just a bit of pucker to it, and that's nice for the beer. But yeah, low carbonation would drive nice little prickliness, and also getting to the overall impression, I think it would also drive some of those fruity flavors and aromas a little bit more efficiently and better. So overall, it's a nice, clean, and pleasant Catharina Sour for what I know of the style, and an interesting balance where the fruit wins slightly over the sourness in the aroma, but then it kind of inverts itself in the flavor, where the sourness wins, at least in the hazy version, in the flavor. But in the clearer, the second pour we got, it's a little more what I expect. So I would probably bump it up a point there, and I guess that puts me a little higher than I was. So I was landing at a 35 on the first version, and if I add a point for aroma, appearance, which I would question maybe, and flavor and overall impression, that's 4 more points. That's 39 or maybe 38 if I'm not nice on the appearance and say, it should have a head and it should have more carbonation that I can see. Which it's a really nicely brewed beer, and it's kind of fun to taste. Definitely, I like the Hawaiian Punch fruit. Didn't taste extremely artificial to me. I mean, if you declare Hawaiian Punch along with these fruits you put in here, I get some of the natural fruit, and again, strawberry is a hard one to get, and it's coming through nicely over the other ones. But that Hawaiian Punch comes through in the flavor in a pretty cool way with everything else that's going on there. Yeah. So, it's a really fun beer. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, try mixing the hazy and the clear. I just did. And it's kind of interesting. It's maybe a little more balanced than either one of them. Or maybe my palate's just kind of fatigued from the sour at this point.
Or getting used to it.
Exactly. Getting used to it is a good way to put it.
We have a carbonator in here?
Did you drop a score? No, I heard a lot of theoreticals about the score.
My score is 35 to 39. It's a range.
No, you got to pick one.
Then, the average is 37. All right, let's just give them
So then we're 37. Even. We both have a 37.
Okay. Kevin, I'm sorry about my co-host's inability to commit to a score.
Well,
but we did it for you.
I would say 38 if it was the clear example. So.
Okay.
Did we lose him? Did we lose you, Kevin? With all that head-spinning scoring?
Nope, I'm right here. Sorry, I had pressed mute so I wouldn't interrupt.
That's all right. Well, with all that, tell us about this beer.
So, and those scores, like the range echoes every score sheet I've ever gotten on that beer before. And I absolutely do not declare the Hawaiian Punch when I enter it in competitions. It confuses judges, and it's just a goofy thing to put in beer anyway. So
it's supposed to have
but no, the recipe is real straightforward. It's just 55% white wheat and 45% Pilsner malt. And I do not boil this beer ever. So I get my wort, bring it up to 160, and then cool it to 110, pitch a probiotic, let it acidify for a couple days until it's in the mid-3s, and then bring it back to 160, cool it again, and pitch USO5 and let it ferment out.
Like a Good Belly probiotic? Or
Yeah, exactly, Good Belly. Yeah.
Cool.
That's a great idea to not boil it, because I think that's why I generally don't care for kettle sours. And I think it's because once you boil something that's got alcohol and yeast,
organisms,
not yeast, bacteria, I think bad things tend to happen. I think it's really smart to kind of pasteurize it by getting it back up to like 160 and knocking those bacteria out. And then adding the USO5. I've never heard of people doing that. And maybe I just don't pay enough attention to the kettle souring process.
Could be.
That's a really good idea.
That might be. You get that cooked, meaty, microorganism.
Well, I wonder if that's also why a lot of them taste like yogurt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this doesn't. I wouldn't have known.
No.
You really start tasting the critter that made it rather than what it made.
Yeah, there's kind of to me, kettle sours can have kind of a dirty character to them. And this does not have, this is a very clean beer.
Yeah, no, I get the same thing on the boil. When it gets boiled, you get that, I don't know, it's not meaty, but there's something there with it. So
yeast-like or something,
Yeah. So, fruit, it's a 5 gallon batch, and there was 4 pounds of mixed fruit, and so the strawberry, mango, and pineapple. And again, pineapple is, I've always had a hard time getting pineapple to come through, especially with all the other busy stuff in this beer. But I don't know if I should keep declaring that or not. But then, so I add that in, and I add about 40 to 50 ounces of just red, old-style Hawaiian Punch. And it re-ferments and blows off a blow-off tube and goes crazy for a few days and settles down and is a really pink beer off the keg. And
that's pretty for sure.
So, yeah.
I don't know. Would you determine that there was pineapple in this beer, Cooper?
I'm getting it in the
tastes like
very aftertaste, like the very, very aftertaste.
But would you,
after the finish,
as a judge, would either of you, I guess, go, well, I really feel there's a missing ingredient that you're not declaring. Should he keep declaring this?
Well, I think that one of the key elements of the pineapple is that it's so puckeringly sour that's part of what defines it, and the actual flavor of the pineapple is more. Well, it's there, but it's more subtle, and when you blend it with all the beer flavors and the other fruits, it might get a little lost. And it's just it's tangy, but it's not mouth-puckeringly, sharply tangy because the beer's not supposed to be, and it's just kind of there. So, I don't know. I would either bump it up or and declare it, or bump it back a little bit and not declare it? I don't know.
I mean, I made a note in my score sheet that I wasn't really tasting a lot of pineapple, but I didn't really knock it down for that. It was just more of an observation, because like we were saying was, there's tartness is part of pineapple. And I could say, all right, well, I can get maybe, because pineapple is like watermelon. It's very watery. And maybe you're getting some of the tartness, but you're not maybe getting a lot of the flavors. That's a thing that could happen with watermelon. I mean, I would maybe bump up your pineapple a little bit. I agree with Brian.
Or as a competition organizer, I would allow an entrant, if it was my choice, to declare low pineapple, high strawberry, or whatever, what have you. You know?
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Why not? Let them tell you what they wanted in their beer and how you should understand their beer. And
that's a good idea. That's what they should do.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Why not? It makes sense.
Yeah, I like that.
That's really smart. I've never heard anyone bring that up before, and it gets around the problem of having when you declare an ingredient. Because Brian and I have our opinions. You enter it in a competition. When you declare an ingredient, people think it ought to slap you in the face a lot of the time.
Or at least a good judge will think that it should be in balance with the beer flavor that's there.
A good judge should think that, but not every judge is a. There's a bell curve. 50% of judges are below average, and I don't mean to slag anybody here, but I mean you're putting your beer in front of people. Tend to enter competitions when they declare ingredients. They'll really emphasize the declared ingredients, so that no matter what level the judge is, he or she will say that's in there all right, and that's not the calculus you ought to be making as a judge. But that's not what all judges do, so that's not what all entrants plan for. I mean, am I making any sense here?
Yeah. I would say keep making this beer, Kevin. It's fun. It's interesting. I would like to taste a version where you doubled the fruit and dropped the Hawaiian punch.
Okay.
But
I agree.
Why not? I mean, it's a lot of fruit to deal with. It's not fun in the fermenter, but hey.
What are you putting your orders in now?
Yeah.
It's definitely a fun festival beer to tell people that there's Hawaiian punch and what I just gave them. So
all that fruit gets expensive too, but get the freshest stuff you can find from if you can get it at a farmer's market rather than a grocery store, that'll help you. Or pick it freshly ripened off a tree.
I would say the reverse.
I mean, I'm putting Hawaiian punch in this beer, so I'm using the cheap fruit.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Kevin, can you pick pineapples off a tree where you are?
Outside of Kansas City, no.
Okay.
No, not so much.
Cooper was talking about picking stuff off a tree, and I was just laughing at that, because my first thought was, I didn't think you were in Hawaii, which makes that pineapple a difficult proposition.
Hey, strawberries don't grow on trees, Brian.
I know, man.
Or chili. Anything else, Kevin? Got anything to say?
No, we covered it.
Any questions?
But Hawaiian punch you can pick fresh off the tree.
Well, of course.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot for sending this beer in.
Awesome. Thanks.
Send us something else someday, buddy. Cheers.
Thanks, man.
All right. Cool. Thanks.
All right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take our remaining break, and then we're going to get out of here. Hang on just a sec. We'll be right back. It's Dr. Homebrew.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
The leader in affordable, high-quality kegerators is here. Introducing Komos, the kegerator designed with serious beer drinkers in mind. It features an all-stainless steel draft tower, a major upgrade over traditional chrome-plated brass towers, and Komos keeps your new tower cold with their air-cooled tower fan, wrapping your beer lines in frigid coolness. Your beer is poured from innovative forward-sealing faucets that don't leak, so they stay cleaner for longer. Dual gas inlets on the rear of the fridge allow you to run both CO2 and nitrogen gas. Serve your beer with CO2, Serve your kegged wine or even cocktails with nitrogen. The digital temperature display has the largest range available, allowing you to use the Komos Kegerator for fermentation if you need to. And now Komos Kegerators ship with duo-tight draft fittings for that click-to-connect assembly we've all dreamed of. Buy direct from KomosDraft.com and receive free shipping on your order. That's KOMOS Draft.com.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, we're going to wind up here on the show called Dr. Homebrew.
Reeling her in.
That's right. Thank you very much to Kenny and Kevin for sending us a couple good beers. I really appreciate that. And I'm still blown away that homebrewers can can their beer.
That's pretty
That just
cool.
trips me out, man.
He wins extra points just for that.
Should I say it? I mean, it's been said.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had homebrew in the can.
Oh.
Well, I mean, hey, you know what? There's a first time for everything, Brian. Go to a few more EDM festivals, and that might...
Maybe I'll have it in the can again.
That's right. It might happen for you, dude. I have faith. 100% faith in you. All right.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, well, that's what we do.
Thank you to our loyal listeners.
Yes.
That's right. I really appreciate you guys listening to this weird show.
We enjoy meeting you in the wild, like at HomebrewCon and other places and festivals and fun things, but yeah.
It's super fun, and it's great that people actually, like you, like to listen to us talk about drinking beer that you're not drinking.
Please send us ideas and feedback, and for God's sake, send us beer.
Yeah.
Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com.
That's right. If you want to get on the show, Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com, and get on the show.
Yeah.
We need it. If you want to keep hearing shows like this, and this show in particular, we can't do it without homebrewed beer to judge and talk about and talk to you about. So
good or bad, send it if you want. Whatever kind of feedback you want. You're trying to perfect something, or you've got a problem you're trying to figure out.
Exactly.
We're here to help.
Exactly. So on the coming up show, or the show that we're going to do in about 15 minutes, we're going to do a Munich Helles, also in cans.
What?
And then I think we're going to do a commercial calibration of a Fest beer.
It's all German beer show.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I really like the commercial calibration segments. I think that they're a lot of fun. And,
I've had people ask me for those. As they say, they learn a little bit about the style, and they enjoyed going through that way. So I've had requests to do more of it. We're listening to you. We're going to try to do more of that.
There you go. Very good.
So,
all right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. And until next time,
we're looking for a few good beers.
There we go.
And maybe some bad ones sometimes.